Hi, Cherie Fogarty here, and today I'm going to tell you what Dear Girls is and how it's going to help you and your children create your best lives. Now, I know that's a big statement, but it's true, and I'll explain why in just a minute. But first, I just want to tell you what Dear Girls is, and it's basically journal entries that I've been keeping for my 4 children, the oldest of whom at the shooting of this video time is 17, and the youngest is 10, 4 daughters. And I started writing Dear Girls journals, or journals to them, when my oldest was in the womb. I didn't know if she was a girl or boy at the time, so it was either Dear Caitlin or Dear Connor. And although I've written to each of my children individually many times over the years, I also found that I was saying a lot of the same things to each of them every time I wrote. And again, this was before iPhones and the easy videos like we can do now, like I do. Now I do shoot my Dear Girls on videos just like this. After I shoot this video explaining Dear Girls, I will do a Dear Girls for my children. And maybe I'll share that with you also. But basically, I was saying the same things over and over. The things that I was talking about, well, yes, we talked about what we did on a daily basis, funny things the kids did and said. Of course, those were in there as well. But ultimately, what I discovered is many of the things I was teaching were best life lessons, character development, personal development, everything I wanted my children to know if I wasn't there to tell them. And because of these journals, I always told my children, I said, no matter what happens to me, you'll always hear me. I'll never stop talking. And now with video, literally, I won't stop talking. They have thousands of pages and hours of videos and everything else. But again, going back to what Dear Girls is these personal development lessons, best life character, all of the things that I wanted my children to know and to teach them. And I always felt like it was my insurance policy. Number one, I loved doing it. I loved capturing those important lessons for my children, and I wanted them to hear and see them at the time and understand that even when they were little, I was teaching them these things. But they were my insurance policy because I like to be prepared in case something ever happened to me. I thought, well, at least they'll have these, and although I'll never have said everything I want to say and there's no substitute for not being there clearly, at least I'll have something I'll have left them. Little did I know that years later, I almost had to cash in on that insurance policy. When my children were 1, 4, 7, and 9, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And which I've talked about in other videos before, and if you know anything about my story, you know that it literally changed my life. And I truly say, although at the time nobody believed me, but the more and more I tell the story, the more I think people finally are, it's one of the best things that ever happened to me. And besides having children, literally having breast cancer is one of the best things that happened to me. And people ask me all the time, if you could go back, if you could trade, what you learned and who you are now, and not have had breast cancer, have the experience, have the pain and suffering, have the surgeries and scars and all of that, 100% I would take the experience any day of the week because of what I learned and because of who I am. I'm such a better person and such a better parent, and I'm so much happier and so much more grateful. And while the experience itself was not fun by any means, and I had a lot of pain and suffering, I wouldn't change it for anything. So the Dear Girls I had been keeping, I thought, and I truly, again, if you know my story at the time while I was waiting for the biopsy results, truly believed I had 2 months to live for a variety of reasons, which I won't get into here, but it's a good story for all girls and moms and women, and that'll be on the website also. But that I thought, truly believed I had 2 months to live, and I thought, okay, well, if I've got 2 months and that's all I have, what would I do? And you know what I came up with? Again, there were other things as well, but I said, I'll finish those journals. I'll say everything I want to say. I'd come a long way. I told them a lot. There were a lot of lessons, though, I still had to teach, and I said, that's what I will spend my last 2 months on earth doing, is writing these Dear Girls, writing these best life lessons, writing these character development, writing these personal development lessons, how to overcome struggle and persevere, how to believe everything is possible and believe in yourself, how to dream big and reach for the stars and set goals and know what's most important and do what's most important first, how to create their best lives possible, to live meaningful and purposeful lives filled with love, happiness, and fulfillment. to have everything they wanted to have, to be everything they wanted to be, and to do everything they wanted to do, but based on what was most important to them. and to continue throughout their entire lives growing as people and as human beings. That's what I wanted to leave with my children. That's what I was going to spend my last 2 months doing. And a very long story short, when the biopsy results came back and my doctor called and said, the bad news is you have breast cancer, the good news is you're going to live, I was so happy, because not only did, as you've probably heard me talk about before, the experience changed my life because it made me more grateful than I've ever been, and happier because of it, but it also continued or affirmed my purpose in writing these Dear Girls. But what it also did is it said, okay, now that I've done this, now that I know what's most important, if I had 2 months to live, this is what I was going to teach my kids, right? Well, I better not wait. I better get all this stuff down. So don't wait for another tragedy or another scare to do it. I vowed right then and there that I would teach these lessons to my children. I started with gratitude, but it wasn't just gratitude. It was all the best life lessons, all the character development. And I thought, well, how can I bring these into bite-sized bits that my kids can learn from? And that's what I started including in the Dear Girls. It wasn't just, random advice and journaling anymore, although I had that too. It was specific life lessons that they could understand in bite-sized bits that they could one day teach their children. So that's what Dear Girls is. Dear Girls are my letters and love to my children. Everything I want them to know if I weren't here to tell them. Everything that I hope that they use to design, live, and create their best lives possible. And that's what I wanted for them. That's what I want for you. And these are lessons that are universal. These are things that you can use to teach your children. And again, I'm just presenting them in a Dear Girls because that's how I wrote them. So when I put some of these on, I won't put all of them. Many of them are very personal to each of my children, and I won't include those. But I will include many of the universal lessons. And again, there's no grammar check. These were written years ago, most of them, because again, I'm shooting videos now. But they're there. They're there for you to see what it was like as a parent when my children were younger. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I had to fix the lighting because it was flickering in and out, sorry. But basically these lessons are universal that you can use and teach your children. They're glimpses into what it was like for me as a mom in my younger years, but also to show that I have been learning and teaching this for 17 plus years. I've been studying personal development since I was 14 years old. I took one of the absolute first Tony Robbins courses, on those cassette tapes, and I still have it, even though I have nothing to play it on, because I just love seeing that. I have been a student of personal development and best life lessons and everything since I was 14 years old, and I love it. It's my passion in life. It's my business. It's the business I do, is teaching this to children and other busy moms. So I was bound and determined to include these in the Dear Girls. So Dear Girls are basically just something you and your kids, or just you can read, and if you glean a little, there's some funny moments, and again, there's no editing, no filters. This is what I thought at the time. Of course, my ideas on a lot of these things have evolved and changed. Some things they haven't, but it's what I was thinking and what I was telling them at the time. And so whenever I have, we moved 3 years ago, so a lot of these are in boxes, but when I find pictures, I include those as well, and pictures, of the kids at that age, and I'll come back and add them as I find them. But I just wanted to let you know what Dear Girls is, and that I hope it can help you by not only helping you see that you can teach these to your children. Because when I was writing these Dear Girls, I wasn't doing it as a business. This was from my heart. This was, what I wanted to teach my children, again, an insurance policy. So it's something you can do too. Whether your children are 2 or 22, you can teach them these things. You can shoot videos, you can write them letters, you can teach them these best life lessons. And I hope that you'll find value in them as well, if not humor in some cases. And it's real life, real mom, real world parenting, just like you're doing. So that's it. That's what Dear Girls is. I hope you enjoy them. And if you do, share them with other moms who might enjoy them as well and benefit from them. So as always, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a mom or dad, and for everything you do each and every day to be the best one you can be. I wrote these Dear Girls to be the best mom I could be. And I hope that they help you be the best mom you can be. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.